Hi, Lillian. Okay, so here's lesson 17. This one, even though there's 5 self-checks online, I'm only going to have you do 3 of them. And 17.1, 17.2, and 17.3. For 17.4 and 5, I think that you could do them, but they're not as important as these ones, and I want to make sure that you can get through the most important stuff. So we're just going to do 17.1, 17.2, and 17.3, and then I'm going to basically just excuse you from 17.4, 17.5, and then that portion of the quiz and that portion of the exam. So here we go. 17.1 is all about central angles. Central angles, basically, I want you to pay attention to this picture right here. So if I have an angle that goes through the center of a circle, then the angle on the inside is equal to the angle on the outside. So if I'm looking at this number, let me backtrack and say this, sorry. I don't have examples for these self-checks, so I just picked a few random questions from the self-checks to go over with you. So when you hop on and try and do the self-checks online, if these are a portion, like if these are on your self-check, then it's just kind of like a freebie. I still want you to understand the concept so that you can do the quiz and everything and the exam, but don't feel like you have to do extra questions or anything like that. So for number 1, it gives you this circle and it's looking for where the question mark is. Now, according to this thing that I just circled in blue, the angle on the inside should be equal to the angle on the outside. So the angle on the outside for number 1 is 67, which means that in this case, my question mark is equal to 67 degrees as well, because it's the angle on the inside is equal to the angle on the outside. Same thing goes for example number 3 or question number 3. We know the angle on the outside is 30, which means that the question mark also has to be 30. Okay, and then example number 7 is asking you for the measure of DIG, which is like from D to I to G. So this is really similar to what we just did. It just takes a couple more extra steps. So I know that the portion from D to H is 60 degrees. They already told me that. But I also need to find the portion from H to G. And then what I can do to find the entire thing is just add them together. So to do that, it actually gives me all of this information, everything except for what I need. Because do you see this 140 down here? That also means that this portion is 140. So I have all of the angles on the inside except for this angle, which is what I'm looking for. We know that all the way around a circle is 360. So what I'm going to do is do 360 minus all of those. So minus 140, minus 60, minus 35, minus 85. And I get 40, which means that this angle must be 40 degrees. Now to find the angle from D to I to G, I just add 60 and 40, which gives me 100 degrees, and that's my answer. Okay, so that's how we do central angles, super easy. The next one is called inscribed angles, so basically angles that don't hit through the center, but hit like on the outer edge of the circle. And again, we're gonna pay attention to this little picture right here first. So, when you have an angle that hits the outside of the circle rather than it going through the center, what happens is that the angle on the inside is 1/2 the angle on the outside, or the angle on the outside is twice the angle on the inside, or angle on the inside is x, outside angle is 2x. So using that for question number 1, if I know the angle on the inside is 58, then the question mark must be 58 times 2, which is 116 degrees. All right, and then question number 3, this one looks more complicated, but it's the same thing, because what I'm going to do is look at what this angle, where this 43 angle is, and the way that I do it is I try and find like where it starts and stops. So it starts right here, goes down, and then pops back up. So I'm only concerned about right here, which, good news, is that's like what they're looking for, is that question mark. So we can use the same formula and just say, okay, well, it has to be 43 times 2, which is 86. So my answer is 86 degrees. All right, and then number 7 is a little bit more complicated. It's still really similar though. So what's going to happen, I'm going to try and use some different colors on this, but we'll see how it goes. So the first thing I'm going to do is look at this angle right here. We know the angle on the outside is 112. So the angle that it creates on the outside, which should be right this one, will be 112 times 2, which is 224. So I'm going to write 224. Now this doesn't necessarily help me with my question mark, but I have to do a lot of back work on it. So I know that's 224, but I know that this portion over here is 116. So what that tells me, and I'm going to try, let's use green. What that tells me is that this green portion that I'm making right here is 224 minus 116. So like the whole minus the portion, which is 108. So I know that portion is 108. Great. All of this is going to help me find the question mark, but I have to do a lot of back work, like I said. Now, let's use a different color. I'm going to try and find, I want to find the top like right here. So to do that, let's see. Oh, well, it's actually going to be really easy because I know let's see. 1 minute. Now I got to think about this. So, oh my goodness. I'm so sorry, Lillian. I want to make sure that I'm going to say this right. One minute. Let me double check one thing. One of 8. Oh, I'm a dumb. I'm so sorry. We know that all the way around a circle is 360 degrees, right? Which means that all of the angles, like I can add this guy and this guy and this guy. I don't add the 224 because that's already the 116 and the 108. And then I subtract that from 360. So I'm going to do 360 minus 80 minus 116 minus 108. That gives me 56, which means that this has to be 56. So like from here to here, right? So one last step to find the question mark. We know that the question mark is on the inside. So what I'm going to do is add the 56 and the 108 because that's like, I'm going to use yellow now. This question mark is this portion, right? Which means that it's like the outside portion is right here. And so what I'm going to do is do 56 plus 108, which gives me 164. And then that's my outside angle. To find the inside angle, I would do 164 divided by 2, which gives me 82. So my question mark is 82 degrees. I'm sorry that took me so long. This really, again, isn't terribly hard. It's just more about adding and subtracting and using that formula up here where it's like x and 2x. 2x is on the outside and x is on the inside. Okay, the last self-check that we're going to do in 17 is 17.3, which is tangents and secants. There's two big formulas that I want you to know on these ones. The first one is this top picture. If I have an angle that goes on the outside of my circle, whether the lines go through the inside of the circle or hit the outside of the circle, it doesn't really matter. Like these angles could have hit the outside like this. One of them could have hit the outside, the other could have gone through. It doesn't matter. You're going to use this formula right here where it's x, which is the angle on the outside, is equal to BA minus LA. I say BA for big arc and LA for little arc. So the big arc is the arc that's bigger, obviously, and then the little arc is the arc that's littler. And then similar formula for the next one, but this one, instead of having an angle on the outside, you just have an angle on the inside. And the angle on the inside x has to be equal to 1/2 big arc plus little arc. These are the only two formulas you're going to have to use in this self-check. We're going to go through these examples 1 and 3, but I wanted to actually start with 7 because this one is actually the easier one. So because you have the angle on the outside, we're going to use that top equation, which is x is equal to 1/2 big arc minus little arc. So I'm going to write that down. X is equal to 1/2 big arc minus little arc. And then we just plug in everything that we know. So it's going to be x is equal to 1/2. My big arc is this chunk right here, so that's 120, minus my little arc, which is this chunk right here, which is 60. I plug that in and I end up with x is equal to 30. So my answer is x is equal to 30 degrees. Super easy. Now let's go back up to question number 1. Question number 1 is really similar to what we just did. We're going to use the same formula because it has that angle on the outside. So I'm going to say x is equal to 1/2 big arc minus little arc. But this time your big arc is right here. It's like the bigger arc that the two lines make. And that's, I don't know that. But the little arc, I do know it's that 66 degrees. And then the angle on the outside is the 32. So I'm going to replace the x with 32. The big arc is my question mark, minus little arc, which is 66. All right, now we have to solve for the question mark. To do that, what I'm going to do is divide each side by 1/2 or multiply by 2. It's the same thing. So I'd get 64 is equal to question mark minus 66. Then I'm going to add 66 to both sides. I get question mark is equal to 130 degrees. And there we have it. Okay, and then number 3 is the one that we use the other formula for. The other formula, because there's no angle on the outside, is x is equal to 1/2 big arc plus little arc. And then the x is the angle on the inside. So in this case, it's 130 is x. It's equal to 1/2. My big arc would be, we're going to call that 210. In this formula, it doesn't matter which one's the big and the little arc, because you're adding rather than subtracting. But you can always think, oh, well, that one looks bigger, so we'll call that big arc, and then that one looks smaller, so we'll call it little arc. We're looking for the little arc in this case. So once again, we want to solve for the question mark. To do that, I'm going to multiply each side by 2 to get rid of that 1/2. So I get 260 is equal to 210 plus question mark. Subtract 210 from each side to get the question mark by itself. And I get 50 is equal to question mark. So the little arc is 50 degrees. And there we have it. So that's how we do 17.1, 17.2, 17.3. And like I said, do not do self-check 17.4, 17.5. I've already excused you from those. And then don't do questions 13 through 20 on the quiz. Those are the ones that you do not have to do. I want you to do questions 1 through 12. Those are the only ones I'm going to grade. And then again, I don't know what questions you won't have to do on your exam, but I will tell you before you take your exam, I promise. And obviously email me if you have any questions. Good luck.